Hi, I'm Margaret, and this is a continuation of the last video I did where I planted bulbs underneath the linden tree beside our driveway. The last thing I have to do in this area is put in the drip irrigation. So today I am going to put in the drip. I'm not going to run it or anything like that, obviously, but I want to have it all set up so that it's ready to go in the spring. I planted a ton of hostas in this bed underneath the tree, but the tree sucks up a lot of water in those roots. So I want to make sure that my hostas thrive. In the past, hostas that I've planted here, they haven't done so well. So I really want to be proactive in that. So I thought I would just set everything up so that it's ready to go. And then next spring, I don't have any worries and there's no big time crunches. Before I show you the supplies, let me explain, I guess, what I'm doing here. The way I see it is I had two choices in how to set up the drip irrigation in this bed. Choice number one is what I've done in other like ornamental type beds, and that is that brown or black tubing that has the emitter holes every 9, 12, or 18 inches. And I could just run that all through this entire bed, and that's one way to go. I decided to do something a little bit different in this bed. I'm not sure whether it'll work, but I thought I would give it a try. I have a lot of bulbs in this bed, and bulbs are not exactly happy if you keep the soil too moist all year round. Now, while I don't think that's a huge issue here because the linden tree is sucking up a lot of the water, I don't think I really want to water the entire bed. So I thought what I would do is, instead of doing drip irrigation in the entire bed using the brown tubing or black tubing with the emitter holes, is I would just set up black tubing that has no holes in it throughout the bed, kind of in a spiral. And then I would do, so this kind of tubing, and then I would do the 1/4 inch tubing, which is this, with one gallon emitter at the end, and I would place that at each plant so that I'm not watering the whole bed, but I'm just watering the individual plants in here. And because all of the plants are pretty far apart, they're not close together at all. They're normally, what, maybe 2, 3, 4 feet apart, that I think this is a better solution than watering the entire bed. We'll see how it goes, but that's what I'm doing. So let's set that up. This is one project where you really don't need a lot of stuff. There aren't that many supplies on here. But mind you, just a reminder, this is basically only going to be the tubing that goes in this area. I am not doing the connection to the actual water today. I'm leaving both ends open. I'm going to cover them up over the winter so nothing crawls into there, but I am not going to be connecting this to water until next spring. I just am going to have it all set up so that it's a very quick connection when the time comes. Okay, so these are all the supplies I'm using. So of course, firstly, we have the 1/2 inch black tubing. No holes in it, just straight black tubing. Then we have 1/4 inch tubing as well. No emitters, just plain tubing. Whoops. Then we have these, and these are couplings. They look like this. And these are what we connect the 1/4 inch tubing to the 1/2 inch tubing. We use one of these to do that. Then on the end of the 1/4 inch tubing, I'm putting 1 gallon per hour emitters, and that's what this looks like. And I am going to be using these little stakes here to hold the 1/4 inch tubing in place right beside the plant where the emitter is. And then I have this kind of little gadget here, and that's what I use to make the hole in the 1/2 inch tubing that the barbed coupler goes into. And that's it. Those are the only supplies that I need for this. I actually forgot there was 2 more things that I needed. I need clippers. I just use an old set of clippers here to clip the tubing, and these landscape staples. And I use these to hold down the tubing. Now what I'm going to try to do is kind of go in between plants. So for example, here is a hosta. Right there is a hosta, and there is a hosta, and there is a hosta. I don't really have anything planted in this area back here, so I want the tubing to go in between these 2, and then I will have a line going to that hosta, a line going to this hosta of the 1/4-inch tubing. And I'm going to be going around the tree sort of in that way. And I'm going to be using the natural curve of the tubing in order to do that. So I'm not going to need any elbows or anything like that, I don't think. The other thing is that the entrance, I guess you could call it, to the irrigation is down there where that spruce tree is. I don't know if you can see that, one way over there. So that area there is going to be where the drip kind of comes in from the house. So I am going to start there, laying down the line and just kind of going straight down. And then when I get to here is when I will start curving, and we'll see how it goes. In my head, it's not going to be that difficult. This definitely would be easier with 2 people, but there's only me here right now. So, but I think it should be okay. Okay, so I just gathered all my supplies in a bucket so that I don't end up losing anything. I am going to put the tubing here. I'm going to tack it down. In fact, I think I'm going to get a hammer too, just to make sure I tack it down well. So I have a hosta way over there underneath the spruce. Here is a Solomon seal that I have, and here's another hosta, and here's another hosta back there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run the line behind these and in between these 2, and I'm going to run it a little bit further out. I think I'm going to go around the tree to the right and around like that. And I have a pulmonaria right there. So yeah, this is going to be good. So here's my line. Here's the Solomon seal. So what I'm going to do is run a 1/4-inch tubing from here to the Solomon seal, and then have a little 1-gallon emitter right at the base or near the base of the plant. So first thing, I get my tool, and I'm going to put a hole in here for my barbed connector. Okay, so there's the hole. I am going to grab a barbed connector. And I'm just going to put that right in the hole. One end goes in the hole, it just kind of pops in. And then you take your 1/4-inch tubing and you pop the end of the 1/4-inch tubing into the barbed connector. like that. Then you just run it, and sometimes it is a little bit tight, and I might even I often will boil some water and put it in a cup and just dip the end of the 1/4 inch tubing in there. It just makes it so much easier to get in. It's not impossible to get in without it, but it does take quite a bit of force. So now I am going to cut the tubing where I want the emitter to be, and I'm thinking I want it to be around here. So I'm just going to cut the tubing right there. The one thing when cutting tubing is you want to make sure you cut it straight across and not on an angle like that. It'll just make it that much more secure when it comes to leaks and things like that. So I'm taking my emitter. It has an opening that has a big kind of hole in it. That is the emitter part. The pointy kind of end, that point will be going into the 1/4 inch tubing, like that. And then I'm going to take one of my stakes here and just put it down here like this, and this fits right on it, and there we go. And now the drip will go right around the root zone, and we're all set up for that one. Okay, so now I'm going to unroll the tubing a bit more, like this, and because I want it to go in between this hosta there and that hosta over there, like this. Okay, so once again, I am going to do this one here, put a hole in it, grab the 1/4 inch tubing, put a barbed connector, and the barbed connector is basically the same on both sides, so there really is zero difference in how you put that one in. You know what, I am going to go grab that hot cup of water because it's a little bit tough. I guess the tubing as well is a little cold, so it's tougher than normal. Okay, I got my cup of water here, hot water, freshly boiled water, and I just have to put my line in. I find actually that it's the barbed connector that's the most difficult to get in, and it doesn't take long, a few seconds, and it is so much easier. So I'll just put that aside, pops right in there, and then just see where I want that to go and give it a cut, basically at the root ball of the hosta, like that. And then might as well do this for this as well, make it that much easier. I didn't find this was as difficult to get in for this one, but might as well make it easy on myself, like this. And oh, like butter. Okay, move this aside so I don't spill it, and then this in here, and like this. Perfect. And now I am going to do this one here, so the other side. So I'm going to go a few inches over. I don't want it right beside each other. And take this. I mean, once you get going, this is very, very quick. Once you get all your tools together. Like this. Perfect. And now just a landscape staple to hold this in place. There we go. And this one is done. Let's see if I can do a bit of a close-up on everything. And the only thing really left is this section here, which I'm probably going to end up tying it into the main line in the spring. I'm not going to do that now because I'm not 100% sure yet exactly what I want to do. I might add more plants, I might want more line, I don't know. So what I'm going to do in the meantime is actually I'm just going to cut it. I'm going to assume that I'm just going to go and tie it back in here. So I'm going to cut it so that I can do that. I'm going to unfurl it. See, I didn't need any tees or anything like that. I just used the natural curve to do stuff. So what I would do in the spring potentially is just put a T fitting here and link this up. But I'm not 100% sure I want to do that yet. So that things don't get inside, I'm actually going to just put a piece of plastic on the end and I'm going to zip tie it to the end. And that's that. So all done. And the sun is starting to go down. Well, it's almost down. It'll be dark in about 20 minutes. So I'm not going to have time to mulch today. So I will see you tomorrow morning. I am back. Well, it's a couple of days since I filmed the drip irrigation because actually the next day it ended up raining all day, which is awesome for the garden, but not so great for doing the mulch. but I am going to get down to doing the mulch now. I have just over, I think, a yard of mulch in the trailer to get down. The mulch I'm using is just the standard mulch that you get. It's not colored or anything like that. Now it is a fine grind, and it's actually great because the place where I get the mulch, they only started getting this kind of fine grind a couple of years ago, and before that, if you got the just basic standard mulch, it was pretty chunky. I really like the fine mulch because not only does it look a lot better than the chunkier stuff, but also it breaks down more quickly. So what that means, I'm hearing a tractor or something. I'm not sure what I'm hearing. I'm like looking in the camera. What's behind me? Oh, okay, it's my neighbor mowing. So just quickly, the fine grind, I like the fact that it breaks down more quickly because it also ends up feeding the soil. And when I say chunky, I don't mean super chunky. What I'm talking about is kind of like the chunkier kind of mulch from when an arborist drops the mulch on your driveway. And it's still awesome, it's great, it's free, which is a huge plus. If I get it for free from an arborist, I'm not gonna be picky about shred size. If I'm gonna buy it, I might as well buy the fine stuff. For a yard, I paid about $40, and I think that's maybe $5 more than the chunkier stuff, so it's definitely worth it. So here we are, all mulched up. It's actually great that the hostas are not totally brown yet. Some are quite a bit yellower. There was only one that I actually ended up mulching over, but I realized my mistake and I pulled the mulch back from it. So yeah, the mulch was just barely enough to cover this whole area. So I could have done with maybe I don't know, another wheelbarrow full to really get it done properly, but that's okay. Also, I did mulch basically over whatever leaves were on the ground. It wasn't a hugely thick layer of leaves or anything like that. Areas that were a little bit more dense, I kind of spread the leaves out or took some away. But overall, it was literally just a dusting of leaves, and I have no issues mulching right over them. They'll just decompose underneath the mulch. This is the first time that I've actually mulched in the fall, and I have mulched, like sheet mulched in the fall, where I'm getting a bed ready for planting the following year where there's grass or that kind of thing. But I've never mulched a perennial border in the fall, and I'm kind of interested to see how it goes, because if it does well and the mulch is still there and it does great next season and I don't really have to top it up again or anything like that, I may start doing this to more of my beds, because fall is for me a much better time to do something like this. It's nowhere near as busy and hectic as the spring normally is, so the more tasks I can do in the fall, the better. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this works out. Hopefully good. So, thank you so much for watching today, and we'll see you next time. Bye.